find you learned anything.
Demands to pause the budget process. Parents, student, and teacher organizations at Milwaukee Public Schools expressed outrage today over recent job cuts. Hannah Hilliard is live at MPS headquarters tonight. Hannah, these groups want the superintendent to slow down her budget overhaul.
Right, Derek. After learning roughly 201 MPS workers are losing their current jobs, the teachers union is demanding the board reverse that decision and halt any future budget decisions. But the superintendent says with a $46 million budget deficit, it's just not that easy. With 200 plus jobs on the chopping block,
it takes time, and what we're asking for is that to be done thoughtfully.
Milwaukee Public Schools Teachers Union and parent and student groups are asking for a pause.
This is beyond rushed.
Sending this letter to the school board Monday with a list of demands, asking the board halt the superintendent's, quote, haphazard and harmful centralized budgeting process and reverse the 201 job cuts.
It's not accurate to say that these were just central office cuts or that these were high-level cuts. These are impacting every single one of our school communities.
70 of the jobs are based in central office, 62 are support staff, and 59 of them are assistant principals, like at Golda Meir.
I see how hard she works. She has engagement not only with our kids, but also as a parent. I was just shocked at how very quickly she grew to know me and my kids and my family.
It's a very challenging budget year for us and very difficult. Obviously, we value all of our employees, so I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Superintendent Brenda Caselli is defending the district's decisions, saying a pause is just not on the table. Is that an option?
Yeah, so we have a statutory obligation by May to pass a balanced budget. And so we need to have hearings. In May, we need to be able to bring it to the board. Then we have to have that final vote sometime in June for our budget to be done.
And Hannah, the teachers union wants the board to hold a special session this month.
Right, it's unclear if that is going to happen, Derek, but the superintendent says that the board does have a special session regarding the budget already on the calendar sometime in May.
Hannah Hilliard live tonight in Milwaukee at MPS headquarters.
We are taking a moment today to leverage a renewed level of augmented business visualization and conversation marketing. It is an AI-based mobility solution enabled by our ecosystem of cradle-to-grave technological and results-driven profit optics. Hashtag leadership, hashtag mentorship, hashtag growth mindset. If any of that reminds you of a recent company conference call or your LinkedIn feed, a recent study suggests this is more than just empty buzzwords. It concludes that people who really buy into corporate jargon might actually be worse at their jobs. Shane Littrell is a cognitive psychologist at Cornell University and the author of that study. He is here to cross-leverage his synergy with us. Shane, welcome to All Things Considered.
Hi.
Why did you decide to focus on this? Because I do feel like it's everywhere, and it's particularly cartoonish on LinkedIn.
One, I had a corporate job years ago, so I kind of already had a little bit of a taste of it. But, you know, corporate settings are saturated with these kind of authority cues like titles and power hierarchies and leadership vision. And that kind of makes impressive sounding ambiguity, especially easy to pass off as insight.
You had a very technical, specific term for this phrasing. You called it corporate BS, but you used the fuller phrasing. How exactly did you define this and try and quantify it?
So basically what that means is that in these corporate settings, people sometimes use buzzwordy, jargon-heavy language in a way that misleads others. They can do that intentionally. They want to distract from some problem that the company is about to have, or they're about to do layoffs or something. But people also do it in situations where they want to impress their colleagues and their coworkers so they can maybe try to more quickly climb the corporate ladder. They do this in a misleading way that makes it sound more important or impressive or smarter than it actually is.
I guess, how did you measure this, and how did you come up with the takeaway that people who do this are not as good at their jobs?
Okay, so what I did was I combed through a bunch of different shareholder reports and interviews with Fortune 500 business executives, and I just found examples of sort of the nonsensical ways that they state things and phrase things in their messaging and public communications. And then I created this big, like, dictionary or word bank of all these nonsensical terms that I found, like, you know, synergy and value proposition and all these different terms. And I created an algorithm that would create new sentences based on these structures that sounded like real speech on about 1,000 different workers. I basically just tested to see whether or not they could tell the difference between real language, because I used real statements as well, versus these absurd, like, nonsensical statements. And people that struggle with that the most tend to also struggle with decision-making in the workplace.
What's your takeaway for those of us who are #blessed to not be, you know, stuck in LinkedIn all the time? Like, is there anything that you think is applicable outside of a corporate meeting?
Well, one thing that I try to make clear in the paper is that there's a difference between nonsensical corporate BS and actual jargon. Jargon can be helpful because every company, every workspace has its own jargon. There are these initialisms and acronyms that actually help people communicate easier and more quickly. It becomes a problem when it starts to kind of take over and it's used in these misleading ways. But one thing that my paper highlights is the fact that given the right circumstances, we are all susceptible to falling for this kind of nonsensical talk, not just necessarily the corporate style of BS, but any kind of BS. People think they can spot it a lot better than they actually can spot it.
Lastly, what is your favorite of these phrases to make fun of?
Okay, this is one. I don't have the source for this one right in front of me, but there's one that says, "You have to appreciate that the milestones that we have set in these swim lanes provide a roadmap for this flow chart."
I haven't heard swim lanes before.
Yeah, they love the term swim lanes, and I have no idea why. They also talk about boiling the ocean a lot, too, which a lot of water metaphors.
I guess we're going to have to put a pin in this conversation here. That's Shane Littrell, a cognitive psychologist in the Department of Government at Cornell. Thanks for throwing some time on your calendar to spitball with us, Shane.
Yeah, thank you. It was a great value proposition.
Anytime.
I thought I asked for an African-American to replace Terry.
You requested an Afro-American?
African-American. Jerry, you know I did. I put it in writing.
I didn't see it. You see it?
If you don't like her, you send her back.
Yeah, you tell her you didn't like her performance because she was white.
What? That's not the point.
Flipper, she's been here for 5 minutes. Give her a chance. This sounds dangerously like reverse discrimination to me.
President Trump has said DEI is dead, but in reality, his fight against diversity, equity, and inclusion may just be getting going at one federal agency, the one Congress created 60 years ago to end unlawful discrimination on the job. NPR's Andrea Hsu has more.
The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission was born out of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The catalyst was the entrenched discrimination Black people faced in America. Over the years, the agency has broadened its efforts with a focus on helping the most vulnerable, the most in need of assistance. Now its Trump-appointed chair, Andrea Lucas, is steering the agency in a direction never before taken in its 60-year history.
We're working hard to attack race discrimination in every single form that it comes.
Every single form, regardless of who's the victim, who's the oppressor.
If you're being treated differently based on race, the exact same rules apply to you. That's always been the agency's position.
And it's clear in the text the law protects everyone. Also clear are Lucas's priorities. She initiated a probe into Nike over whether its hiring goals disadvantage white people. Her agency got a Planned Parenthood affiliate to pay $500,000 to settle charges of discrimination and harassment against white employees. And then there was this video Lucas posted to X last December.
Are you a white male who's experienced discrimination at work based on your race or sex? You may have a claim to recover money under federal civil rights laws. Contact the EOC as soon as possible.
Lucas says she made this appeal after reading an essay by a white millennial about how his generation of men have been shut out of professional opportunities.
I felt that it was important to let everyone know that the doors are open to them, and that includes white men.
She felt the agency hadn't done that in the Biden years. In the wake of the murder of George Floyd, she says her fellow commissioners stood by as legally questionable DEI policies surged.
I think that the prior administration really viewed that word as sort of a magic wand to ignore the implications.
To be clear, Lucas says she never saw her colleagues across the aisle bless any unlawful DEI practices, like creating pathways to jobs exclusive to certain groups. But she says they pulled punches.
They wanted to believe that these things either weren't happening or these aren't the things that they should emphasize or prioritize for enforcement.
And now, she says,
I'm cleaning up their mess.
Now, last year, President Trump fired 2 of the 3 Democratic commissioners Lucas had served with, well before their terms were set to expire. It's something no president had ever done. One of them was former Chair Charlotte Burrows. She calls Lucas's recounting of events pure fiction.
It's not surprising to me that this kind of gaslighting would continue, but it's just not accurate.
Burrows says under her watch, the agency faithfully followed the law and that there was no piling up of charges from white workers over DEI policies.
I did not see any evidence of that.
After George Floyd, what she did see was companies struggling with how to meet the moment, how to better protect their workers, including women and people of color, from discriminatory practices.
How do we do it? And to get it right.
And she says the commission helped with that, letting companies know that as long as you include everyone and exclude no one,
you can absolutely create a lawful diversity, equity, and inclusion program that benefits everybody.
How times have changed. In February, Andrea Lucas sent a letter to the heads of Fortune 500 companies about their DEI efforts. In a statement, she said, the only lawful way to stop discrimination on the basis of race or sex is to stop discriminating on the basis of race or sex.
This is not helpful in terms of stopping discrimination in our country.
Hy Feldblum held a Democratic seat on the EEOC during the Obama and first Trump administrations.
I am definitely concerned that large numbers of employers are being frightened away
from taking perfectly lawful actions to ensure equal opportunity for all. Her advice to employers:
review, do not retreat.
One employer that appears to be standing its ground is Coca-Cola Beverages Northeast. The EEOC sued the soft drink distributor over an off-site networking event it held for female employees who got to hear from top female executives. If you're wondering what's wrong with that, Andrea Lucas says just flip the sexes.
How would you feel if a company paid for all of its male executives to go to a 2-day retreat and said to all the women, sorry, you got to stay home?
Never mind that the EEOC's own data shows that when it comes to senior executives, men still outnumber women by almost 2 to 1. Lucas insists the answer to the old boys club is not a new girls club. Andrea Hsu, NPR News.
Here's how I feel about Iraq. I feel like you guys keep trying to distract people with Iraq when I'm focusing on other things, namely the moon. Yes, I said it, the moon. Can't be distracted. What's going on with the war or what's wrong with the economy? Stop worrying about that. I got that under control. Let's focus on space, nigga. The United States of space. Because I ain't stopping at the moon.
The Artemis 2 mission, which will carry astronauts around the moon, is scheduled to launch tomorrow. It includes the first black astronaut and the first woman ever assigned to a lunar mission. NASA officials had once celebrated these firsts, but not lately, as Katie Riddle reports.
Black astronauts, as well as women, have flown in space for decades, but neither have ever flown on a moon mission until now. Here's former NASA Administrator Bill Nelson announcing the crew a few years ago.
She's no stranger to breaking records. Your mission specialist, Christina Hammett-Koch.
In addition to Koch, the crew includes Victor Glover, who is black. At the time of this announcement, Nelson sounded proud of these milestones.
The first woman and the first person of color will take giant leaps on the lunar surface.
That was back in 2023. Language celebrating this diversity has largely disappeared from NASA's website and rhetoric since Trump took office. He signed an executive order directing federal agencies to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. AJ Link represents Black in Astro, a group that advocates for Black representation and participation in this field.
There's still a lot of discrimination, racism, frustration that comes with being Black in the space industry.
NASA has not publicly said it changed its messaging. Leadership from the agency did not respond to requests for comment on this story. Link says not celebrating progress in diversifying the space workforce, it's a mistake.
There are a lot of Black firsts in the space industry, even in this day. To back away from that or to erase that, I think is wrong.
The first black astronaut to travel into space was Gian Bluford. He flew on the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1983. Since then, there have been other notable black people in space, such as Mae Jemison or Leland Melvin. But these names aren't nearly as established in American folklore as moonwalkers Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin from the 1960s, says Margaret Whitey-Camp.
The homogeneity of the astronaut corps, all white Christian men married with children, jet test piloting experience, was seen at the time as hallmark of the exclusivity of the program.
Whitey-Camp is a historian at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. She says women have also been fighting an uphill battle for representation among astronauts. She wrote a book on this subject.
The first women are admitted to the astronaut corps in 1978 as a part of that class, and they started flying with the space shuttle program in the early 1980s.
According to its own data, since NASA began selecting astronauts, roughly 80% have been men. Today, the men still outnumber women, but there is more parity. Whitey-Camp says diversifying has helped NASA achieve an unprecedented amount of skill and talent in its workforce.
Part of that is a reflection of opening up opportunities in other parts of society.
AJ Link with the group Black and Astro says NASA's choice not to acknowledge this recent progress on DEI in space is a missed opportunity. Space exploration, he says, has always been bigger than one policy, administration, or demographic.
Our relationship with the moon and the stars and the night sky is one of the oldest relationships we have in this world, and it's precious.
Space, says AJ Link, belongs to everyone. Katie Riddle, NPR News.
It's okay. See, the code doesn't say nothing against somebody going into business. That's, going into business is just going into business. That's all. If you can find a business to go into where you can make some money. I mean, there are some black people who are in business. They run in little barbecue stands or something, a chuck wagon.
It's been just over a year since Liberation Day. That's when President Trump imposed steep tariffs on most of the U.S.'s major trading partners. The Supreme Court has since decided that the tariffs were applied illegally, and a lower court ruled that they must be refunded. But the Trump administration still has not budged, and Trump has imposed new tariffs to replace the ones that the courts overturned. As Houston Public Media's Andrew Schneider reports, many small businesses say they're suffering.
Misfit Toys is located just off a busy highway in Houston's Heights neighborhood. Vintage toys are its main stock in trade, says store owner Daniel Rivera.
But that's never going to be enough to lure people into a retail setting if we don't also have some of the latest items that are hot.
To lure customers, Misfit Toys still relies on the sale of new toys tied into summer blockbuster movies, as well as Christmas sales. Those new toys are largely produced in China and Japan. Since President Trump's tariffs took effect, Rivera says he hasn't been able to afford to stock up for either season. Paulina Gamino, Rivera's wife and business operations manager, says the store can't afford to absorb all the costs of the tariffs. Raising prices is the only option.
And so now we're talking about brand new toys that maybe would have been $25. Now it's like $40, $45 for a brand new toy. That's such a huge jump and increase.
Misfit Toys has swallowed some of the tariff costs, and its profits have taken a hit. According to an analysis of Census Bureau trade data by the small business advocacy group We Pay the Tariffs, the emergency tariffs Trump imposed last year have cost American businesses more than $150 billion. Luis Torres is senior business economist for the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, which regularly surveys business owners on the effects of the tariffs.
You can see those comments of how those costs, those tariffs, they've impacted them, causing increased selling prices, margin losses, also the uncertainty surrounding them.
That uncertainty can drive customers away. Casey Wright manages Houghton Horns, a brass instruments specialty shop north of Fort Worth.
If a customer wants to order a custom trombone from us, we can say, well,
at current pricing, it might be $7,000, but then the tariffs could change tomorrow and your price could end up being $6,000 or $9,000.
Wright imports student-level instruments from China and professional-level ones from Germany, Britain, and Japan.
And these instruments take 3 or 4 months to make. So if a customer wants to place an order now, we have no idea what price to charge them.
Neither Wright nor Misfit Toys Gamino and Rivera expect they'll see any tariff refunds as a result of the court orders. Rivera says he doesn't expect any stability on the tariffs as long as Trump is in office.
Because it could be tomorrow that he just changes his mind again and, he pulls his hand into a hat and says, because of this, I can do it again. I can raise tariffs again. So we're not convinced it's over.
To adapt, Misfit Toys is focusing even more on vintage toys. Layoffs in Houston's tech sector are forcing unemployed workers to sell off their toy collections, which the store buys at a discount and resells. But before the tariffs, the store had been planning on a major expansion. Rivera says that's no longer in the cards. For NPR News, I'm Andrew Schneider in Houston.
Are you a Gen Z watching us? Don't worry, I'm not here to tell you how sensitive you are or how you can't take feedback or how self-obsessed you may be or obsessed with self-care. Those are lectures you've heard enough, I'm sure, and I get it. So relax. This is a safe space. You are one of the most educated generations in history. But here's the thing. The job market doesn't seem to agree. We have numbers from a survey. It studied responses from hiring managers, and 74% of them say Gen Z is the most challenging generation to work with. 6 out of 10 employers admitted they let go of a recent graduate within the first year. And the reasons? Frequent job hopping, a sense of entitlement, and of course the buzzwords unprofessional, unmotivated, and bad at teamwork and communication skills. So let me decode why it is so tough for you. First is COVID. Yes, I know, it feels like it was an eternity ago, but its effects still linger. Hundreds of millions of Gen Z attended colleges, remote or hybrid, learning in sweatpants, attending Zoom classes on mute, group projects with just email chains. All skills great for the internet, but not so much for the office. Perhaps no one taught you how to read a room, and that gap hit hard on the first day of your job. On top of that, globally, things are a mess. We have numbers from the OECD, that's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. It says youth unemployment has more than doubled as compared to older workers. One in 4 young people is NEET, meaning they are not in employment, education, or training. And then there's the elephant in the room, that's artificial intelligence. 41% of business leaders across 7 countries say it's cutting staff. 25% believe entry-level tasks could soon be automated. And to that, add a broken system. Big tech companies like Google, Microsoft, Apple, IBM, all of them have dropped degree requirements for many of their roles. They prioritize skills-first hiring. But here's the reality. Those skills don't always trickle down. What it means is this. CEOs and top company leaders want skills-first hiring. But when it comes to HRs and managers interviewing you, the old degree-first rule is still the deciding factor. So even if you have all those skills, you might still get overlooked. But don't get it twisted, Gen Z aren't lazy. They just believe in main character energy. They're ambitious, digitally fluent, and surprisingly adaptable. Look at this Deloitte survey. It says 3/4 of Gen Z are actively preparing for AI impact. They are upskilling online, learning new skills outside work, beating robots at their own game. And that's just tech. 46% of Gen Z say adaptability is the top skill they honed during the pandemic. Stress tested, they emerged sharper, faster, and far more resilient. So the truth is, like I said, Gen Z aren't lazy. Artificial intelligence is just reshaping work faster than HRs can blink. If you still feel dejected, here's my 2 cents on this. Focus on these strategies. 1, get hands-on experience before graduation. Work part-time, intern, or volunteer. Real experience along with professional contacts and references opens a lot of doors. Number 2, Treat networking like a power move. Reach out to professionals, alumni, or industry insiders. Ask questions. Learn what works. Most people will help if you show initiative. Trust me, it's all right to ask for help. And number 3, seek mentors and study role models. Mentors give guidance and insight. Models are peers who are doing it well. Observe, adapt, and craft your own way forward. You can do all of this. After all, you've outsmarted more chaos than maybe your favorite fictional characters. Now it's time to take on the real world.
Billie Holiday, I sing your blues. Bet your life against me and I swear to God you'll lose it. Motherfuck the cops, we still singing for St. Louis. Motherfuck the cops, we still singing for St. Louis. Motherfuck the cops, we still singing for St. Louis.
New details this morning about a deadly double shooting at a Steak and Shake drive-thru in North St. Louis County.
Now, Fox 2's Chris Renier is live where this happened with new information about the victims in this case. Good morning, Chris.
Margin, good morning to both of you. We are learning more about just the tragedy that unfolded here at the Steak and Shake last night in North St. Louis County. We are on the 11,000 block of Bell Fountain Road, just off I-270 here in North County. This all took place at the Steak and Shake drive-through window just behind us. You can see there is shattered glass there this morning. And we can also show you a woman right next to that drive-through window. That is Tamala Washington. I was just speaking with her earlier. She is the mother of the woman who was killed in this situation. Tamala tells me that her daughter's name is Chauncia Meekins. She is 32 years old. We can show you a picture of Chauncia provided to us by Tamala Washington here this morning. Tamala, again, identifying herself as the mother of the woman who was killed in this horrible tragedy here, telling me Chauncia, her daughter, was 32 years old. She had worked here at the Steak and Shake drive-thru for 3 to 4 months. Obviously, the family is still trying to process what has transpired. I want to show you some video that we captured out here a little bit earlier, explain what's been going on here. This all took place a little after 11:30 last night here at the Steak and Shake drive-thru. St. Louis County Police tell us that there was a confrontation at the drive-thru window involving some workers at the Steak and Shake and people inside a vehicle outside of the drive-thru. County Police tell us at some point someone inside that vehicle shot into the drive-thru window, hitting Chauncia and a male worker from the Steak and Shake here. County Police telling us that Chauncia was pronounced dead at the scene here, tragically. The male worker was transported to the hospital with what are being described as non-life-threatening injuries. We spoke with Tamala Washington here just a short time ago. Here is some of what she told us as she's trying to process this tragedy about losing her daughter.
Why would somebody want to shoot somebody in a fast food restaurant over some fast food? It was senseless and it was hurtful. And now you got a family grieving. I just want to know why. Why would you shoot her? You didn't have to shoot her or the other employee.
St. Louis County Police have not yet confirmed the identity of the woman who was killed here, but again, her mother identifying her as 32-year-old Chauncia Meekins. There are no suspects in custody at this point. Active investigation this morning by St. Louis County Police. We don't yet have a description of the vehicle that the person was in, where those shots came from at the drive-thru window. All of that is still unfolding. We will, of course, be reaching out to St. Louis County Police authorities here as the morning unfolds, trying to get more details. We are getting more from Tamala here at the scene. A real tragedy here at this North County Steak and Shake drive-thru, unfolding literally a half an hour before this restaurant was set to close last night. For now, live in North County, Chris Renier, Fox News.
Chauncia Lashell Meekins, 32 years old, black female. Context of White Supremacy. Gus T. Renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the global system of white supremacy. Today's date, Thursday, April 9, 2026. So I have been told. Our weekly broadcast, Neutralizing Workplace Racism, not for spectators, especially you have figured out a code. I can get through my shift. I can get through my week without shots being fired at my job. Maybe we need that sort of codification. We will need that sort of codification increasingly. But not for spectators. If you have figured out anything that would be helpful for non-white people to maintain safety in the workplace, maybe anything for non-white people to avoid being accused of practicing racism against white employees. If we have any folks who have any suggestions to make sure you don't get accused of mistreating white men. If we have any folks who have figured out no wage theft, they don't mess me over on my scheduling, my pay is correct, direct deposit every time. They call me by my correct name every time. They didn't have no goofy April Fool's pranks to play on me. I'm treated with courtesy, patience, professionalism every day. Hey, let us know. How did you do this? Give us some point. Did you have to break out your policy and procedure? Counter-racist jiu-jitsu? What did you do specifically that you don't have to have a vest in your workplace? Let us know. How did you accomplish some of these workplace comforts? We would like to mimic you 100% if possible. The number 720-716-7300. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Number again, 720-716-7300. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. I guess you can hit us on X as well at untiljustice. Need to drop a line while we are live, or we can read it on the archives down the road at untiljustice. The email again, untiljustice@gmail.com. That's it. Workplace safety. Workplace safety. And workplace safety. We had a young lady, I think it was Lauren. She had dialed in and she said, this is a long time ago. She dialed in like years ago. She dialed in and she said that on her job, she had a white man, race soldier. He said, ooh. Looked at her, the black female, looked at her and said, ooh, ooh. You got on my nerves so much today. And I don't know, like what she did, like maybe just showing up, being a black person. I don't know. Maybe she spilled some coffee. I don't know. Us colored folks can get on your nerves. He said, oh, you got on my nerves. Ooh, if I had my pistol, I would shoot you. Oh, my Lord. What he finna go postal and said he gonna put a cap in when she said she went to go report it, and the supervisor said, oh man, Teddy, he's so funny, he's just joking. What? This really happened. I'm not gonna say true story, but this really happened. Man, Anybody in a situation where someone on your job, and I would even say Leroy, Lakeisha, it could be another person classified as black. Man, you come in on our job, and there was boy, you done got on my nerves today. If I had my shotgun, I would. What? At work? No, ain't no har. What is the punchline? I'm on the floor gasping. What's the punchline? I'm waiting. I love a good joke now, but ain't nothing funny about me getting my chest blown out. Like, wait a minute now, the shotgun ain't pointing at me. That ain't funny. What's funny about that? I would get one of these reports. He said, wait a minute, what you mean one of these reports? I'm going to rewind. Now, I had been emphasizing workplace safety for some time. It started last summer, June. Jennifer Harris. And it's not just Jennifer Harris, black female. It's Jennifer Harris, mother of 6 black children, stabbed to death at an East Point, Michigan McDonald's by her black coworker, mad because she was ordered to go home. But that was Jennifer Harris. That was 2025. Played the reports, talked about it. They had GoFundMe for Miss Harris. I shared that. She's got 6 black children. So we talked about Jennifer Harris, like, wow, and she wasn't. Now, granted, that's not a shooting. Granted, she was not shot to death. She was stabbed to death in the workplace. Suspected killer on trial right now. So we talked about that one. Just a few weeks later, Ryan Johnson, privileged black male, shot to death. There we go, shootings. Shot to death at a Taco Bell. Dispute with a coworker, black coworker. Mr. Johnson was at work, came outside to take a break, and was shot to death on his break. Third report that we talked about, fatal violence in the workplace. This was this year, 2026. Leonard Hale in Wisconsin. Think it was some sort of work dispute. He is accused of stalking his co-worker. Sat outside, Leonard Hale, black male, sat outside in his vehicle and waited for his co-worker and ran him over with his car. That's not a shooting either. They didn't give us the demographics and information on the victim. I'm not sure if they made it or not. They kept listing them in critical condition. So we'll have to see when we get to the trial. Did the victim make it? Did they identify the victim? But waited for him to come outside. He went to get a snack, I think at the Dollar General across the street, and then ran him over. And then today we get to Chauncia Lashell Meekins, 32 years old. I think she said she was just a few days away from turning 33, and get in a dispute in the drive-thru over onion rings? Onion rings. Onion rings. They didn't even say, this was a dispute about change, or you accused me of giving you a counterfeit $50 bill. Now I got to call the police and report you, and you're not going to get your onion ring. They didn't even say all that. This was no money dispute, and you messed over my change and all of that. Onion rings. Killed Miss Meekins and shot another employee. Now they said that person is going to make it, thankfully, but hey, I don't want to be shot at all. Especially not, I don't even have a good story with it. I can't even sit back with my grandchildren and be like, oh man, let grandpa tell you about the time that they robbed that bank. Woo-wee. They had that good looking teller, and I said, hey, You scoundrel, get out of here. And he pulled out the gun and we tussled and the gun went off and I got shot in my shoulder. But they saved me and I got a date with that cute girl and woo-woo. And that's your grandma, by the way. Boy, that's a story to tell. Well, I was working at the Steak and Shake. Said the onion rings was cold and shot me in my... I mean, what? What? I cannot emphasize enough. And even now, I don't know. They don't even have a suspect in who did this. You got most of the... I don't eat at Steak and Shake. I'm a proud vegan, so I don't hang out there. But most of the restaurants that I'm aware of in 2026, they got cameras out the wazoo. So, I mean, I have no idea how this person came through the drive-thru, and they don't have... I mean, you should have license, vehicle, all of that. And then even, it should be a camera right at the drive-thru. Like, what does this person look like? Something, sketch, something. Anyway, I have no idea if this was another victim of racism who did this. I would not be surprised. But man, from what I can recall, since Jennifer Harris, the only reports that I have seen, I don't know who was the victim, Mr. Hale. I know Mr. Hale is a black male. I don't know who he ran over with his vehicle and might have killed or nearly killed. But all the reports that I have seen about a fatality in the workplace, it's been involving a black person. Have to see about Mr. Hale to confirm about the victim, what have you. But if it's been a workplace fatality, it's been a black person. And most of the time, if not all, a black person killing another black person. Black pride. Black culture, really. White people are to blame, but I mean, man, I cannot. And then I said, I think it was sometime around a few weeks back when Mr. Hale, when he ran his coworker over. And again, I said, now, I don't know if that's a black person or not, so it might not be. We'll have to see. He's going to trial in Wisconsin, probably going to have an all-white jury. But I said then, I looked. I hadn't investigated to see, is there a trend? Do they have statistics about this? They do. Black people are disproportionately likely to be fatal victims of fatal workplace violence. Jennifer Harris, Chauncia Lashell Meekins. I cannot emphasize. My view, again, white people are most to blame, but system of white supremacy, there is so much anti-blackness, really black culture, the dozens and the disregard that we have for other black people. The great Carter G. Woodson, The Miseducation of the Negro. Again, he has a whole chapter talking about this, how nasty and discourteous black people are in the workplace to other black people. Apparently, this has been the case for a long time, well over a century, probably the duration of white supremacy racism. And it's not just in the workplace, it's all areas of people activity where we are nasty and hostile to each other. But in the workplace, oh man, you take all of that and then people are nervous about losing their job. You're going to go snitch on me and get me in trouble with white people? Because that was Jennifer Harris. She was a supervisor and she sent her suspected killer home, said you didn't do your duties correctly or whatever it is, and she sent her home early. And the response, I'm going to kill you, stab you to death. And I think Leonard Hale, I think it was the same thing. He was retaliating. I think he might have been terminated from his place of employment. He said, ooh, I'm going to get you, and ran him over with the vehicle. Lots of that in there. Now, this was not a coworker who engaged in this conduct with Miss Meekins. This was a patron, presumably going through the drive-thru. But, man, the contempt that is produced for black people in the system of white supremacy racism, and I would say especially jobs where you have to work with the public. Either they're calling them on the phone, and or they can come and see you, or they can confirm, oh yeah, this is a black, ooh, all that sort of thing. Like, oh man, I would keep that in mind at all times. And I mean, hey, Miss Meekins, 32 years old. She was gunned down over onion. I mean, I cannot imagine They could be the worst onion rings in the world. They could have been frozen where they didn't even make an effort to heat them. They could have been burnt to a crisp. She could have put ashes in the plate for the onion rings. Like, I cannot, if she had cursed, called me everything but a child of God, put the onion rings in the trash and then put them out and put them back on the plate. At maximum, especially if I haven't given them my fake counterfeit bills, I just pull off and leave. You can make a report online, Better Business Bureau. Dr. Kanban would say, go online, find out the owner, and contact them directly with your experience. You could do all three and hit their social media page, all four. Why does it have to be, I got to pull out a pistol and for a black female? I'm not saying that this never happens to a white person, but I am saying there is a clean pattern. I just told you. And I don't go looking for what black people got killed at work. I've never done, maybe I should. I've never done that. Never done that. I was just looking what happened in the workplace. Or just checking the news, period, sometimes. And this is what pops up. And like I said, the data does support we are much more likely to be victims, black people, of fatal workplace violence. So a massive part of everyone's counter-racist code, in my opinion, at least a major concern every black employee should have. One, what am I going to do if violence breaks out? What can I do to minimize violence happening to me in the workplace? What can I do? Keep myself safe. One of the things I talk about all the time, I ain't going to talk about no politics. We end up messing around and get on Obama. Oh my, all the black, I don't even have to get to racist. All the black people alone who hate his guts. That's what they said. They came on the cows and everything. I hate his guts. He's scum. He's a scoundrel. Oh, I kill him. See, what I look like bringing up Obama in, and even just casually, like, yeah, Obama was, oh, you scoundrel, bring up Obama. I'll kill you right now. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Like, woo, no politics in the workplace. And really, we just got through March Madness. What they call it? Madness. Especially, you done wagered wrong and then messed your rent money up for April. Gas high as it is, and you done messed around on DraftKings. I don't do no sports in the way. That would be a big one. I don't do no sports in the workplace. I think at the courthouse, he said they got a rule. You cannot wear any sports paraphernalia in the workplace. Gold. That should be money for all black, especially black male. Don't you in your life, that's white people, non-white people, don't you ever, on the job, you gonna come in, hey, you see them Lakers, woo, please. Leroy don't care nothing about no sport. Now, I don't care if you got, season tickets to the Lakers since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was playing. Yeah, I don't care. You can have season tickets since Wilt Chamberlain was playing. I don't care. As far as all of your employees, white and non-white, you can't spell sports. You can't spell NFL. You are the most ignorant person in the universe about the Super Bowl. I don't care if you got pictures of you at the 50-yard of the last 20 Super Bowls. As far as your coworkers are concerned, you are the most ignorant person in the world about the Super Bowl. No sports paraphernalia in the workplace. There's never going to be. I was in the office pool and we got to arguing because I lost the money or I won and they wouldn't pay me. None of that. We got into an argument because my team and your team got to play. College teams, that goes for your college. Even if you went to the school, no, your school got a football team, don't they? They got a basketball team, don't they? They got an intramural team. Okay, then. No sports paraphernalia in the workplace. They get to what I just said. They get to the March Madness, and I got to go upside your head. Ooh, you don't come in here talking about no Michigan. Ooh. You don't come in here and talk all that. I'm at UConn. I beat you and Don Staley down. Ooh. That even if you work with all black, because I've seen that too. No sports, no politics, no messing around. That's why, hey, no sexual activity with your coworkers. Now, you want to have a husband, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, they got to come up and stab you too. No sexual activity with people in the workplace. Let's keep this business. Now we don't have all those emotions and things riled up and all the rest of it. Let's just keep this business. And if we can't do that, one of us needs to get another job. But just little things. Be courteous in the workplace. That's another one why I don't make a whole lot of statements while I'm here. I don't take it for granted that I can just talk loud, say whatever I want to. I'm not amongst friends. I'm amongst people that might shoot me over onion rings. Shooting me because they got fired, even though I didn't fire them. It doesn't matter. I got to kill everybody here. And that happens. So, I don't make a whole lot of statements. I don't make statements about who I'm going to vote for, and I'm mad about who won the election. I don't make statements about the ball club. I don't make statements about my TV program. I don't make statements about other people's clothes and gossiping and all that. I don't make statements. I talk about the job. That's it. What's happening at work? I don't care about nothing else. Don't come talk to me about no gossip, because see, that can get you too. They come and gossip to you about Fred. I don't even know Fred. You sitting here telling, what? Who? What? And then Fred walk by and think that I'm in it too. Ooh, I'm going to get both of you. Ooh, we going to meet after work. What? What? Don't come talk to me about nothing, but you come and talk to me about helping to get this raise. You can come talk to me about so I can be employee of the month, so I can get this promotion. Come talk to me about, hey, you want to double your bonus end of this year? Yeah, man, that's what you come talk to me about. Don't come talk. Did you see what she had on? That? You know she wore them shoes 3 days in a row. Come on. None of that. Get a reputation. Courteous. Serious. Shh. Quiet. See, it's hard. If you notice, now they will fuss and say that person is quiet, and sometimes they pick at you. Sometimes they'll even write you up, say you don't talk enough. But generally, the quiet person, generally, when they get ready to go upside somebody's head, most of the time, it is not the quiet person. I'm not saying never. I'm just saying most of the time, it is not the person who never talks that you have. But you ain't said nothing all day, and we ain't heard him, and he just, that person, most of the time, they're not going to have no major vendettas, or I got to get my pistol. You too quiet. That doesn't have, especially for no black people. Like, hey, shh. Spook who sat by the door kind of a thing. I'm not trying to bring no unnecessary attention on myself and broadcasting all my views. I'm just here. I'm professional. Quiet. It's time to talk about that raise. Hey. Other than that, shh. But seriously, and all that, I'm super serious. I mean, hey, we're talking about avoiding violence in the workplace. Someone gets riled, gets seeming like they're getting loud, hostile in the way that they're speaking to you. Man, I would stop talk immediately. You can take a restroom break, whatever you need to do. But one, I would even ask if they're being hostile, I would want witnesses. I would make sure we're not just us. And if I think they're being unprofessional, we need to discontinue this for the time being, because this is not acceptable. And I would find policy and procedure. Most people, if you work in a serious office, you have to dress professionally and all of that, code of conduct. Oh, yeah, they're going to have that in policy and procedure. You cannot just go in and filth flarn and be cursing people and calling names like, whoa, 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 especially if it sounds like you might be getting violent and huffy with somebody. Now, wait a minute, especially 2026. Wait a minute. Let's make sure that we're being courteous and professional in how we're treating one another. And I would even make note of specifics. When I disengage to go to the restroom or whatever it is, I would make specific notes. Date, time, and exactly what they said that was hostile, unprofessional, unacceptable. Write it down verbatim. And then, like I said, I would get policy and procedure. That might even be one that I know the exact page number where they talk about professionalism and how we conduct ourselves in the workplace. Already know, so that I can reference that it seemed like there may have been a breach of policy and procedure, and I did not want to continue if it wasn't going to be a fruitful discussion, if we're just going to be upset and making personal attacks and getting hostile as opposed to just being productive problem solvers. Problem solvers, not getting huffy, hostile problem solvers. If I did something incorrect, let's get to it. If I didn't, but there's a problem, let's get to solving the problem. That's the way we want to push things, not yelling and all that. Lots of that in the workplace, name calling, just being discourteous as opposed to let's just get to solving problems. But majorly, I would be looking in your workplace for ways that you can avoid conflict. If you see specific people who are about conflict and name calling, I would avoid them. I would develop a code for about how you have to engage with them, if you have to talk with them at all. And then if you have patrons, oh man, we would have to talk about engagement with patrons. That might even be one. Maybe we need training so that we can make sure everyone gets through these actions safely, because you never know. Patrons, maybe they will be armed. Knife, gun, whatever it is. Got to be prepared for that too. I would ask for training, especially like we've had a lot of folks who they work jobs where they have random strangers, come on the facility and you have to serve them and all the rest of it. Oh man, we need additional training at the minimum, and maybe even security, but at minimum, more training. What to do, what not to do if there's a safety emergency. You can add, and that's something, be proactive about that sort of thing. Be proactive about that sort of thing, especially if you have hostile individuals who come to your workplace. Anyway, I can't emphasize that enough. Talk to your children. And apparently, if you work at fast food restaurants, because I did mention we got a McDonald's in there, we got a Taco Bell in there, and now a Steak and Shake. If you work at a fast food restaurant, oh man, these sound like really dangerous places for both the patrons, co-workers, really dangerous. And that's why I say if you have young people, try to start looking now if you want summer employment. You've been hearing the reports about young people having a difficult time getting a job. See if you can start looking now and talking to folks and putting the word out that you got a 16, 17-year-old and they're trying to get a little coin and experience for the summertime, as opposed to waiting until June or late May. Probably be a lot more difficult then. In terms of employment at those fast food places, they are so exploitative and violent. At minimum, I would try to avoid that being like your starter experience if you can as a non-white person. I know that might be the only option. That's how the racists have kind of set things up. Might be the only option for some of us. If you can't, and that has to be your option for employment, definitely have a code together to keep yourself safe as you can in the workplace. Customers, employees, and I would ask, be very inquisitive about safety. How do we manage safety at the drive-thru? How do you manage safety if you're working up front? How do you manage safety with other employees as best we can? What to do, what not to do? Do they have cameras? Got cameras for the drive-thru in case people come in there acting up? All the rest of it, what to look out for, what, this is kind of suspicious. All of that. Ask as many questions as you can. That's what it seems to be. I would not have thought that before, but man, fast food type jobs, it seems really dangerous. You can get shot and killed over onion rings. Chauncia Lashell Meekins, 32 years old. Context of White Supremacy. So some of the other reports that we heard had to start with that. Just black person being killed on the workplace had to start with that one. The section that they had about the EEOC and the switch and their focus being to white people, I thought that was massively important. It reminded me of the great Neely Fuller Jr. His approach in the workplace, brilliant. His approach using the Constitution, that this is a violation of due process and or a violation of equal treatment under the law. His use of the U.S. Constitution in the workplace, would that change given the current environment? That's one like, oh man, someone's asking me about a question to ask Mr. Fuller. That would be one. Like, given all of the changes that we currently have in the system of white supremacy racism, where the very people that you might be asking Attorney General and such to go and investigate if there has been a constitutional violation, now they're looking to see if white people's constitutional rights have been violated. It might be even that approach might be more. I would be very interested, either if possible, right, to hear his thoughts on that, and or people who have tried that method still, approach that method. Has it changed application of that technique now with everything that's happened over the last 2 years or so? Just curious. That would be something that I would want to know, especially if it's going to be more of a focus. And I mean, I have never, I'm not saying that I've looked, maybe they got a TikTok, the EEOC, maybe they got a social media page that I need to investigate, but I have never, in all my years of screen watching, I have never seen no EEOC commercial specifically for black people. Hey, colored folks, black people, non-white, they've been messing over you at work. You didn't get that promotion. You didn't get that raise. They laid you off. Man, give us a holler at the EEOC and we got your back. I have never seen what is that on BET? Do they put that? They got little interludes. They got an intermission in Tyler Perry films where they show an EEOC advertisement. I have never, ever seen such a thing. If they got that, put untiljustice@email.com. But commercials for what? She said that she saw a person, that's EEOC Chair Andrea Lucas, suspected racist white woman. She said she was seeing white people saying, oh man, it's no place for me. Oh man, we not getting nothing. Oh. And they said, man, the EEOC has never functioned this way ever. They said the white man said he was shut out of professional opportunities. I had to crack up like what? What? White men are what? What opportunities exactly are white men shut out? Like, this can't be he just said that, oh man, we got to leap to it. Like, based on evidence, what exactly? What job did you miss out on as a white man? Give me a list that you were qualified for too. Can't be like my kindred spirit at the courthouse. They say he unprofessional, doesn't know how to talk to people. They can't be nothing like that and say, yeah, they hired some no count Leroy and I should have got the job. Well, you're not even qualified. Like, no, a job that you were qualified to get, if they gave it to some black person, some colored fella, some colored gal, and they weren't even qualified. Like, give us the data. I do not believe that, like, on no day, Miss Lucas, suspected racist. They said the EEOC, I thought they said they were supposed to be helping people who need the most help. I do not think white men or white women need the most help. Now, they said that they had a retreat and it was a women's retreat. Now, that one, I suspect they could have said white women. I'd love to see the demographics, how many black females were through. But okay. So they have the event, and it's supposed to be for the female employees. And Miss Lucas, white woman, suspected of racist, she says, well, just flip the dynamics. What if the company paid for all the white dudes to go hang out? She said, oh, no, you sisters, hang back. Or she didn't even say white dudes. She said all the dudes. She, again, white dudes, it's not Leroy, Jamal, Devontae. When the companies do have all these retreats with the executives and folks who are in the expensive suite level, most of the time it is all of the white dudes. They gone off. I guess they'll be back next week. You still got that 202. Like, stop lying, Miss Lucas. Like, get out of here, man. Just come out and lie. And that's what the EEOC is going to be now. We lie so we can go out and look out for white men. Say President Trump is a victim of racism. Elon Musk is a victim of, which is what Elon and Trump is. Man. Woo. Anyway, let's see. And she said, they said 80%, even when they were giving the reputation NPR, they said that 80% of the executives are men. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Same thing at NPR. It ain't like it's 50-50. It ain't even like it's 70% white men and then 30% non-white males. And I'm throwing everybody. I'm not even just focused on black men. That's not what it is. 80%. It wouldn't surprise me if it's like 75% white men. Might even be a little higher than that. And then you got 2% Leroy here, Leroy there. Come on. Come on. Let's see. And Miss Lucas, she used a lot of metaphors, waving a magic wand. I would love to have one of those to end racism. She talked about the former EEOC chairwoman who was a black female, cleaning up their mess from the Biden administration. Metaphor, lots of metaphors, not scientific in the way she spoke at all. When they spoke about the history of NASA and how they now are not highlighting their diversity in staffing. That's another one where they highlighted the history of men. How many Leroys ventured out in space? How many Devontaes then climbed in the shuttle? Like, come on, man, stop. In my view, that's flagrant lying right there. I thought it was flagrant lying from EEOC chairwoman Andrea Lucas, but I mean, maybe you think, well, there's a few non-white CEOs. Hey, man, good and tootin' well, it has been overwhelmingly white men. It ain't no teaspoon of black male astronauts. It ain't no little bit of non-white men. It's been overwhelmingly white men for NASA. Say that. Say it exactly that way, especially if you're going to talk about some white patriarchy, system of white supremacy. Liars. And so that report, when they're talking about NASA no longer highlighting their so-called diversity, and even, they don't even talk about the white women who've worked for NASA going up in the shuttle and all that, even though they did have a documentary at the Seattle International Film Festival last year about a white woman, lesbian astronauts. I mean, they got the rainbow in there and everything, but they did have that at the film festival, and it did very well. I think it has even been released, watched general audience and everything. That report did remind me of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I will share quickly. This is recognizing the first African-American astronaut. Talented and brilliant Robert Henry Lawrence Jr. was the first African-American selected for space flight. He was born on October 2nd, 1935 in Chicago, where he graduated from Englewood High School at the age of 16. Lawrence then attended Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois, home of Richard Pryor, graduating with a degree in chemistry in 1956 at age 20. Upon graduation, Lawrence was commissioned as second lieutenant in the Air Force and attended pilot training at Malden Air Force Base in Missouri. Following training, Lawrence served until 1961 as a fighter pilot and instructor stationed at Furstenfeldbruck Air Force Base near Munich in West Germany. Returning to the U.S., Lawrence entered the Air Force Institute of Technology at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and later was assigned as a nuclear research officer at Kirtland Air Force Base. Lawrence continued to pursue his education and graduated from Ohio State University in 1965 with his doctorate in nuclear chemistry. In June 1967, Lawrence completed his training at ARPS at Edwards and was selected for MOL, earning him the designation as the first selected African American astronaut. Only 6 months later, Lawrence was killed in a tragic accident, asterisk there, at the young age of 32 during a training flight December 8, 1967 in an F-104 aircraft crash at Edwards Air Force Base. Lawrence was flying in the back seat, serving as an instructor pilot for a flight test trainee, learning the challenging but essential steep descent glide landing technique. During landing, the plane hit the ground hard and the plane rolled and caught fire. Although the pilot successfully ejected upward and survived the crash, Lawrence's backseat ejected to the side and he was killed instantly. I remembered Mr. Lawrence because he married Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's sister, Barbara. This is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's brother-in-law. Lauren Cresslove, Dr. Welsing's other sister, told us about Mr. Lawrence when she visited us on the program after Dr. Welsing had passed. Because if I had known, I would have asked Dr. Welsing about Mr. Lawrence, but she said there was suspicion about his death. Died in a training accident. I think he was training a white person that white people were not pleased. Now, even think about that. They're saying in 2026, white people, we don't do no bragging. We ain't proud about our niggers going out in space. Liked it better when it was all white men's. In 1967, and maybe even that's part of it, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's brother-in-law, Mr. Lawrence Jr., You think it was a whole lot of racist white folks said, man, we not interested in seeing no. This is like a year before Dr. King was assassinated. You think it was a whole lot of white people? We are not interested in seeing no nigger in space. Neutralizing Workplace Racism, the great Robert H. Lawrence Jr., Dr. Welsing and Lauren Cresslove's brother-in-law, victim of white supremacy. They should have him at the Smithsonian's African American Museum of Culture and History and Culture, the segment where they talked about corporate buzzwords leading to confusion. They didn't say lying and deception in that report, but I totally think master deceivers. And they even said in the report that sometimes it was deliberately using impressive sounding ambiguity. That was Shane Lantrell, professor at Cornell University. But impressive sounding ambiguity to make it seem like you are valuable or you are doing something when you're really not. There's so much of that phoniness and inauthentic posturing in the workplace that is so common. Really, that is a staple of white culture. They say all that fake it till you make it and all of that. Certainly, as he said in the piece, certainly for some careers, some jobs, you have very specific verbiage. There is a lexicon with certain professions. The medical profession, right? Dr. Vanessa Grubb, she is a nephrologist, right? Studying your kidneys. That is a specific lexicon. That is different from just having a whole lot of worthless rhetoric to make it sound like, wow, a flow. Wow. Our ecosystem. Wow. Okay. And a lot of times if you say, well, can you explain that? As opposed to them trying to make you say, oh, you don't know what the ecosystem, you're ignorant about. Just, can you explain what that means? And they said the people who get into all that, a lot of times, they don't even do their job well. You want to do your job well, you should be able to articulate in a manner that everyone can grasp. What are we talking about? What are we going to do? What's our goal? Oh, okay, not a whole. What? Huh? Impressive sounding ambiguity. Clarity. That's what we want. Really, as counter-racist scientists, I think certainly on the job. Clarity. Precision. We want to be as far away from that word ambiguity. Confusion. We want to be as far away from that as we possibly can. That's how you end up, at minimum, all that ambiguity and confusion. That's how you end up with Robert H. Lawrence Jr. having an accident. At the minimum. The tariffs, I'm just going to pause because the report that or not pause per se, but the report that we heard, they talked about the tariffs impacts on small businesses. Trump had the audacity, called it Liberation Day, all these tariffs, and we're going to support American workers, I'll give all these Chinese people and all. Okay. For Fuller again, the great, he has said, you can open your business. I played the segment of him to preface talking about the tariffs today. You can open your business, any type of business, really. Again, race soldiers, they can come toss you and your business off the slave ship as long as we are in a system of white supremacy racism. Metaphor. But it is true. And you can see it now, just like with COVID-19. Said it then, like, hey, they might have, depending on where you are, COVID might take it serious, or maybe they say, this is deep state fake and all the rest of it. But sometimes they take it serious, like they did in Washington State, and they say, hey, we're going to have a shutdown. Stay-at-home order. Unless you have an essential business, lock your doors. They might have that. Maybe they say your salon is an essential business. Maybe it's not. They probably not going to ask your opinion about this if you're classified as black. Tariffs. We didn't hear it. I don't think they mentioned anything about non-white people, black people who have businesses. Capital B did. The authors, both classified as black, Adam Mahoney, Aaliyah Wright. August 7, that would be Tuesday of this week, their report, Black-Owned Businesses Confront Rising Costs Amid Trump's Tariffs. And they have a black bookstore owner on the front of the report. Vera Warren Williams, founder of the Community Book Center in New Orleans. The report reads, sweeping tariffs took effect Thursday, while President Donald Trump has said the tariffs would lead to factories and jobs moving back to the United States. For black Americans and small business owners, it is not that simple. Prices are expected to dramatically rise for clothing and shoes, electronics like cell phones and computers, cars and auto repair, groceries like coffee, fruits, vegetables, alcohol, which we don't need, seafood. Economists say the sweeping tariffs may slow U.S. economic growth and increase unemployment. Earlier this year, Capital B reported that nearly 80% of black Americans were preparing to change their spending habits and buy fewer things as a result. Vera Warren Williams started the Community Book Center in New Orleans with $300 and a dream in 1983. In the 42 years since, the black book and clothing store went from the trunk of her car to a flagship shop and anchor of Bayou Road, a restaurant and shopping district with the city's highest concentration of black businesses. She has battled through severe economic downturns, including the 2008 recession and the mass destruction of Hurricane Katrina. She now has to face the impact of one of the Trump administration's most drastic economic policy changes in decades, imposing tariffs on virtually every country that the U.S. trades with. Just after midnight on August 7, goods from more than 60 countries and the European Union became subject to tariff rates of 10% or higher, according to the Associated Press. Products from the EU, Japan, and South Korea are taxed at 15%, while imports from Taiwan, Vietnam, and Bangladesh are taxed at 20%. Trump also expects the EU, Japan, and South Korea to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in the United States. As uncertainty remains, black households and small businesses were thrown into a tailspin during the months of delays and extensions. It is putting people in a very uncomfortable position, and when the economy and people are uncomfortable, we're black-owned businesses the first to go, Warren Williams said. During the 2008 recession and the height of the COVID-19 economic downturn in 2020 and 2021, black businesses closed at the highest rate of all ethnic groups, and black families lost the most wealth. Now, I will have to pause even right there. I'm not sure that I heard that. I'm certain we talked about the impact of what I just said, COVID-19. You can't open your salon, but I'm not sure I had been told that black businesses closed at the highest rate during the COVID-19 pandemic. Like, wow. But that is exactly what Fuller said on the plantation. It really doesn't take a whole lot at all. I'll give a teaspoon more. Warren and Williams said the Trump administration has ushered in a perfect blow to black businesses by weakening the economy and stunting support for minority-owned businesses with his attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion. She estimated roughly 2/3 of her products were produced outside the U.S., which she expected would lead to increased costs for her business. And because she caters toward black customers who have lower disposable incomes and will need to spend their money on essentials like food over books. Whew, we just talked about this. Shar Adams, black-owned, The Revolutionary Life of the Black Bookstore, and Catherine Massey Book Club reading a dissertation on black bookstores right now, getting to the finish line tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. But 2025, there was a 14% decrease in sales for black authors. I think that was one I didn't think it was too difficult to figure. All of the turmoil with hiring and Doge, Elon Musk again, all the rest of it, all the reports about the disruptions to black federal employees, and specifically them saying that lots of black females have had lots of turmoil and disruptions to their employment. No surprise at all. They might be saying, I'm at minimum, I might save a little money. I'm not going to splurge and go get that new coffee book. I'm not going to splurge and go get no other, literature or the hate you give. I'm going to have to stay on the shelf for a little while until, things get right. I can totally understand that. Black bookstores, which is in Shar Adams and our current dissertation. Dr. Colin Anthony Beckles finishes, corporate clients have stopped buying as many black books because of attacks on diversity and black history. Her sales will dwindle. That is in Shar Adams as well, where she talked about for black bookstores, all the big bulk purchases from the black schools and universities and all that, and you go to work on those schools and you ain't gonna have no diversity, and you practicing racism against these good white men, ain't you? We ain't gonna make no bulk purchases of no Dr. Welsing. We ain't gonna make no bulk purchases of the man up. 14% decrease in sales for books written by black authors. Last paragraph, it reads, when black businesses struggle and disappear, so-called communities also lose social and cultural lifelines, she explained. Back in April, a group of retirees sat in her store for hours, not to purchase anything, but to congregate. Moochers, loiterers, they reminisced on the shifting neighborhood, thumbed through books they had read before, and contemplated how they might prepare to face the tariffs themselves. Warren Williams plans to replace her busted phone before prices skyrocket, and Mama Jennifer, who runs the shop with her, said she's going to shift her grocery shopping habits. And I will pause there, but all of that is talked about in both of the book we just finished and the dissertation that we are about to conclude, having an area for black people to come and hang out and talk in a constructive manner, talk about constructive things, maybe talk about racism, do some reading. We need to get rid of all. We don't even want a spot like that. Can we get a liquor store here? Can we get some Mad Dog 2020? How about a cannabis dispensary? Like anything but a bookstore for niggers. Ugh. But all of that, economics, again, the report, I didn't even read the whole thing, but brilliant, right? A+ work. Black-owned businesses confront rising costs amid Trump's tariffs, from Capital B, authored by Adam Mahoney, Aaliyah Wright. This is, we're actually from a few weeks back, but at Capital B. Check that one out for the tariffs. But it's just so easy with the domination that white people have to control and manipulate, really close the whole business down as soon as they feel like it. And I'll pause there. Let's see. I did not get all of the audio reports. There were so many, man. But I'll pause there. Give out the number again. 720-716-7300, the code 564-943#. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. If we have any folks, if you have any sort of code suggestion for neutralizing violence in the workplace, let us know. That seems massively important. I could be in error, but my assessment, all of the confusion, anxiety that people have about the economy and gas prices, the war, just everything, but all of the economic stress that people have in the workplace, I can easily see. One, patrons, random people that come into your workplace, them either being armed, they are more anxious, quicker to be hostile, and then the people that you work with may also be a lot more hostile, a lot less patient. Maybe they're armed, maybe they're not, but man, if folks have a code, like if you have things that you share with, if you have offspring, and they say, hey, Mom, I'm going to get, go work at the McDonald's. What would you tell your child to stay safe? You had a 17-year-old, they're going to go work at the Taco Bell. What would you tell them to see, hey, I'm going to share, this is the best that I can do in terms of advice. Hopefully you will get back to me at the end of every one of your shifts at the fast food joint. What would you share if you have young children, nieces, whatever it is, nephews, whatever it is? Let us know. And or if you work in that sort of environment yourself, any sort of dangerous environment, if you have figured out a code to minimize conflict and to keep yourself safe. If you work with patrons, other people that you work with, your colleagues, anybody, if you have, developed strategies, codification around safety in the workplace, that is super important. Let us know. untiljustice@gmail.com, and then the number 720-716-7300, the code 564-943#. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Hopefully we'll have some folks who, I don't know if we have people who work in the restaurant. I know lots of people work in the restaurant industry, fast food industry. If we have some folks who work there, if they have personally, or if you did work there and you have personal experience with all of that, let us know. And then if you have other issues in your workplace, or if you figured out some things that work well to minimize difficulties, problems, let us know that as well. I'll check the email untiljustice@gmail.com for the safety in the workplace. That's even one. If you hear the archive, we have so many spectators and folks who, do not share. If you have tips, suggestions, even things that you use for yourself to stay safe in the workplace, this one is important for Chauncia Lashell Meekins. Let us know if you have any tips that would help a black mom get back to her black children at the end of her shift. Drop an email untiljustice@gmail.com and we will share. I would say, man, it is getting lighter, or I guess depending on where you are in the world, but at least folks here in the U.S., they moved the clocks forward, so it's getting lighter now. So hopefully, depending on what shift I guess you work, for lots of us, you get to work, you leave work, it's light. So that should make it a little bit safer. You're not leaving work and it's dark. You can't really see if somebody's been lingering or scouting your vehicle. I would still be alert about where you park at. Try to park close to the door that you use for your building so that you're not super far away, and just still be alert about who's around. If it seems like someone is parking near you or anyone strange, especially if it seems like people that might not even work in your building. Are they loitering around like they might be casing things or whatever? Just be mindful about people that are in your general parking area, what things look like. Do the same people park next to you? Just little things like that might be important. Hopefully it will never be important, but just be mindful about where you park at, and just do not take your safety for granted. Like, I cannot say that enough. Do not take your safety in the workplace for granted, especially if you work someplace where, like, patrons, if it's just you guys, even then, like the people that you work with, your colleagues so-called, even then, that is not a safe environment. These are strangers. You don't know these people that well. You've not been to their house or anything. You just see them for, it might, depending on how much proximity you have, it might just be a few minutes, on a daily basis, or sometimes it might even just be a few minutes on a weekly basis. Some jobs, everybody kind of stays in their own office or work area, and, you don't really hang out too much. So these are strangers. You have no idea what kind of medication they're on. They have any mental health issues, what sort of anxiety. They got 15 children and they can't stand them all. If their spouse is having, an affair or cheating on, you have no idea what that person is going through, what their psychological makeup is, white or non-white. So keep that in the forefront of your mind at all times. Even, really, I would say for the workplace. Now, I know lots of folks say, hey, it's on the job and we don't want to be robotic, tight. I know for some reason lots of folks have got the impression that I have said go on a job and don't say anything. I have never said that. The only thing I've said consistently is do not go making a lot of statements, and don't go talking about your personal and sports and all of that, things that don't have anything to do with the job. That's what I've said specifically. They get back to talking about new training opportunities, raises, promotions, parking area is going to be paved, anything like that. Hop in the discussion. What's going on with the parking lot? When is this going to happen? What? Like, are we going to have to park someplace else? You hop in the discussion immediately for all of the above, except for the silliness that doesn't have to do with the workplace. Now, for the violence and all of that in terms of minimizing, same thing that I said before, a lot of it would be about just minimizing in terms of things that we talk about. I'm going to make sure that I'm not hopping into goofy discussions. I'm not going to be hopping into no gossip. And making sure that, hey, we are going to keep this as professional as we possibly can at all times. Get a reputation for that. That's why I said get a reputation for that. And even with other black people, I wouldn't, I wouldn't want any non-white person anywhere in the world to think just because we work someplace and there are no white people, I am in a safe work environment. Like, that is nonsense. Like, Jennifer Harris, she was killed by another black person. Mr. Ryan Johnson at the Taco Bell, that was last year. He was killed by another black person. Shot. I don't know what happened with Miss Meekins. That happened this week, yesterday. I don't know who the suspect was there. We'll have to find out. But, hey, even if you work with all black people, there's no, assumption, relax, none of that at all. You can be nice, all of that, but I would not. We had someone brought this up. I think was it Victim in New Jersey? It was Victim in New Jersey. They brought this up just this spring. Being on a job with a white person, also a stranger, and he made a joke. Even with the jokes, I say this as someone, I'm not no Cat Williams fan. I'm not no Kevin Hart fan. People say, hey, Gus T unprofessional. He doesn't know how to talk to people. I don't dig his sense of humor. Well, I agree with all that. Now, in the workplace, I wouldn't even be someone who tells no jokes. I'm not telling you to be a robot. I'm not telling you got to go to work and never smile, never laugh, your face never change. Nope. I didn't say that. But I did say I am not here to be no Richard Pryor. Mr. Fuller said we're not the entertainment committee on the job. Even one funny. Not even one. Nope. And like I said, not even with other black people because, hey, man, something like myself. They say some people, they don't have a sense of humor. They don't think nothing is funny. You sit up and tell me all day long, oh, boy, you do that again, I'm going to shoot you. I don't think that's funny. It's a lot of people, they just don't have a sense of humor, they tell me. Or they say some people have a poor sense of humor. Everybody can't be Cat Williams. In the workplace, just my humble opinion, all of the non-white people, we should hang up the Cat Williams like forever. I'm not looking to tell no funnies, none, never. It would have to be the most bland, G-rated type funny in the world. And even then, you might get one of them like once every 8 months when they're like, I'm not here to be no accurate. And as opposed to Gus T show up on the workplace and you're like, boy, that nigger is funny. No. That nigger is punctual and we don't have no ambiguity. When he shows up, ambiguity disappears. That's the way that you want to be thought of in the workplace. Not no, oh my, he is just side-splitting hilarious. No. And like I said, all those jokes, sometimes that's what produced the conflict. You think you're funny, huh? Or they give you the hostile laugh. See, forget all of that. Forget it. Because I'm unprofessional and don't know how to talk to people, I would be the one to tell the joke, and I done upset everybody in the room. Now they mad and stuff like. Forget all of that. In the name of safety, professionalism, really being counter-racist scientists, we have very few, if any, giggles. I won't say giggles because I meant that for jokes. Again, I'm not saying don't laugh ever in the workplace. I'm not saying don't smile. You're professional, attempting to be humans, universal man, universal woman. Laughing is allowed on occasion. Smiling is allowed. No problem there. Just you making jokes and trying to make folks laugh. Keep that at a minimal. And like I said, these are real, like almost when I say childish, like really innocent, nothing randy, nothing sexual. It's nothing malicious about anyone. It doesn't have anything to do with politics. Like these are just really almost kind of boring jokes. Nothing that everybody okay. And then we can move on to business, away from confusion. Let's see. We'll give folks maybe 5 or so, see if they have thoughts, suggestions to share for safety in the workplace. And again, I think that is so massively important. I just don't remember like older black people saying like, man, the workplace, maybe it has gotten more dangerous. Maybe that's why. Again, I don't remember a whole lot of older non-white people giving out, suggestions and in-depth talks about things to do, things not to do in the workplace, and how to, try to combat counter racism in the workplace. But violence in the workplace, I don't really remember that being talked about like at all, and ways to minimize and such. Like I said, maybe this is a new thing where the workplace has started to become more violent in response to how the plantation is being run. That's very possible. But man, if that is the case, we should be incorporating that into our counter-racist code, how we talk to, how we operate ourselves, and certainly how we talk to non-white children, young people, students about safety. And even, that's why I've said before, like, man, if you're on one of those jobs, and I've worked these type jobs before, and it can be office, warehouse, all kinds of things. You have a job where they play music. If they play any sort of rowdy music, and I wouldn't care who it is, black so-called musicians, white people, whatever, but they're like cursing and, talking drugs, anything like that, hey man, let's be professional in the workplace. This is not acceptable. We would not be allowed to talk like this in the workplace. Yes? So why are we listening to that? Come on. Let's pick something G-rated, please. And same thing, if that's what we're listening to, all that, and this filth, florid, and nigger, and like I said, I have worked in like multiple environments, serious. They got a employee manual, like this is not some under the table and all that taxes. This is a serious job, and they do this sort of thing on a regular basis. Sometimes they'll be listening to this sort of thing in the vehicle, because I've had those sort of jobs, and then sometimes it might be in the office place where they'll have the music on. They'll have it at a kind of, I guess, a reasonable level, or it might be a big warehouse where it's up really loud. But I've seen this over and over and over. I would say something about that, like, is this acceptable? Would this be acceptable for us to talk this way in the workplace? Now, some workplaces I've been in, yes, it would be acceptable for us to talk this way. That is a massive red flag, because I would expect, it's just a matter of when it's going to be conflict and what you say to me, and I've seen that too. So that would warning. If you are a black person, non-white person, victim of racism, and you work in that sort of environment where, they can play sounds with a lot of profanity, and I would say anything unprofessional. If it's talking about profanity, violence, anything of that, a drug usage, any of that, criminality, any of that, but you can put in the question, is this appropriate for the workplace? And just ask, see what they say, especially if y'all have patrons and things. Like, come on now. Would this be acceptable? So if the owner walked in right now and this was playing, that's acceptable? If it's not, why is it acceptable at any time? Do we only abide by the rules when the owner is here? Still in the question. Let's see, all of those question. If it's not acceptable when the CEO is present, why is it acceptable when he's gone? It's just us here. Let's treat everybody like they're the CEO. How about that? Still in the question lane. But yeah, that sort of thing, my opinion, and even sometimes, because when they play music of that nature or sounds of that nature and it's discourteous and got all that filth, florin, and profanity, people do end up, because you're hearing it. That's just the way the brain works. You're hearing that all the time, the boom, da boom, da boom, okay, and nod along, and everybody cool, okay. And then you end up talking that way. Come on. Like I said, and all it takes is that one day where you didn't get enough sleep or something bad, something traumatic happened, maybe you had a flat tire, car broke down or whatever, and I'm just not in a playing mood, today. I'm upset already and mad, got more to deal with, and now you're in joking and calling me all these filth-flooring and, be professional in the workplace. Let's be courteous at all times. We're not paid to, the very few of us are paid to be Cat Williams on the job. Let's act like, since I'm not getting Cat Williams money, I'm going to keep the funnies to a low minimum. I'm going to focus on just being precise, having clarity with instructions and what I'm supposed to do, or if I'm supposed to be in charge, supervising other employees, make sure that I have no ambiguity, no one is confused about their duties and responsibilities. That's what I want to aim for, as opposed to being funny. Safe, emphasizing safety in the workplace with myself and other employees and how they conduct themselves. Safety. Let's see, folks who dialed in with a hand up. Let's see, our caller at the courthouse should be with us down there, and that's one right there, because they have really, that's twofold, because you got the bailiffs, so you never know if they're going to get mad. They might press the, panic button from your other employees, and then they got the customers who come in and cut a fool, and, I can run all over the place and do all the rest of it, or I'm mad, I don't want to be in your line and all that. So safety, massively important for all of us in our workplace. Caller at the courthouse in Florida should be with us as well.
Yes, sir. May I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Greetings to Gus, the host, the listeners and callers. Thank you very much, Gus, for the program. I just have a few things that I have some observations on, and that's something really to think about when it comes to the safety, because I know that there have been some people, like especially the white dude that's unprofessional and doesn't know how to talk to people. He has risen to become a supervisor, and I hear constantly by victims of racism that he doesn't even like to stick around and even be in the office. Like I don't know if it's like a deficiency that they try to say that he doesn't like to stay in the office and just be seated at the desk. Like he's got to get up and just go different places, and he has his girlfriend that works in the same area, and he'll go over there and make conversations with her at times. And they have 2 offspring together to show the power behind being a white person. And another thing I like to add is there's another white person who took the position after the first warden, the person that I like to use that term for, the warden. This is warden, and a victim said like his patterns once again is like the black supervisor been there, I'm going to say 30 years. Now it's 2 black people, Gus, that have been there for 30 years. And they are managers, and it's a person that's been there, I think, 25 years and is a manager in civil. But this white person, the second warden, ward number 2, he tends to mainly stop and have more extensive conversations with the 2 white people, or I'll add 3 white people who are in that supervisor position. And like sometimes the victim will say he'll stop and will make himself comfortable and talk to the other white guy, and they'll talk about, I guess, some kind of white codified conversation. But yet the black male that's in that same area, like she said, the victim of white supremacy said he'll barely even, go and speak to the black person. And, that's one thing a victim has been sharing with me, because the times that he will frequent the area is when he's dropping off mail. So that'll be his means of, I guess, going through the area is at the morning time. And this guy, it reminded me of when you was talking about the ambiguity. Like he brought like about emails, right? And I know on the job, the thing as well, Gus, is how emails are so important. Pictures, and like how I mentioned, the click females, the click white women, some of them are still there, because at one point, like I've been speaking about, like and I think they still are massive, but some of them, they've gone like to other counties, okay? Like they've gone to other county courthouses, and they have their white hookups over there as well. But I still have, and I think it's important to have like things like the notes and the screenshots of the Facebook posts and things that they've done online. But in terms of the email, this white person, he is not really being clear about the word. He'll use a word called transitory in emails that are meant to be retained, like email retention. And like I noticed on the emails, it'll say it's a 7-year period, for instance, that you can keep an email, or email stays in the account, and then it'll be obsolete and it'll be gone. And he's talking about shared email accounts. So I'm thinking, and it's a document that he sent out to everyone, and I think it'll be constructive to go over and read it again. And I think about especially when it comes to just reading and absorbing what you're reading. But it just seems like this person can really get into the confusion, and he's classified as white and in that kind of position. But yeah, like it seems like it's some kind of 7-year policy that they want to try to do in terms of these emails. And I think that's because the racism and the injustices that they've been practicing, and the clique white girls, and the racist like conversations they've had exchanges throughout the years, like what I've been sharing on the program. And I think that still may be an issue, and I believe he's practicing racism, trying to find some kind of way to get rid of some of those emails, I'm thinking. So I just want to emphasize that taking notes part. I know you've spoken on that as well. And one last thing, two last things I like to share, Gus, is the most powerful white person, him and another white woman, they brought out these bottles. I didn't recognize it as spring water. I couldn't remember what the name of the brand is, but it looked like it was like a Heineken bottle. I'm gonna be honest with you. So, because in my mind, I'm thinking like a clear bottle or something like that. But it was something different, and it just looked like it was some kind of alcoholic beverage. But it was water. But I just think they just do certain things to practice deception. And one last thing is, in the recent newsletter, the most powerful white person, he pointed out that he wanted to recognize that he made a 2026 staff appreciation pin. This is the second annual. Like, it just looked like it was just something so spectacular. It doesn't really mean anything to me. Like, you know, and it was published inside of the newsletter like it was something that was so good. But I guess some people might want one of these kind of small pins, and it had a gator on it, like I guess for the Florida Gators. But, you know, other than that, and a victim also said this person, the same white man, came around with some baked cookies, right? And he said these were leftovers for some event that I made this weekend, and he actually had the audacity to bring this around the courthouse area. So I don't know if anyone participated in eating any of that stuff, but this is some of the things that have been occurring on my job. And other than that, that's all I have to share. Thanks for allowing me to speak.
I love it. That is so Michael Swango. For people who were with us, Catherine Massey Book Club a couple years back, and or if you just know Michael Swango, period. But he was poisoning his white co-workers, and he was lying and pretending to be a doctor. He was poisoning and killing his patients too. But one of the times that he poisoned his white co-workers, he got them day-old donuts and laced them with poison. But he brought the donuts to his co-workers, and they looked at him and said, "Dang, you gonna get us some day-old, stale, like, we not even cool enough for you to go get us no fresh?" Like, man, you appreciate it, Swango. Thanks for the love. And they still ate them, and you know, but he gonna get the leftover cookie. Now, even that, he said, I made them. Now, I'm even trying to spin it like the best of the best. Maybe. Let's say he made like 3-4 dozen cookies, and the guest, you know, came over, and he sat them out in a appropriate hygienic manner. He set out like the first, 3 dozen, and they woofed them all down, and just that last dozen, they forgot them or left them out or whatever. But we had, a dozen left over that we didn't get out. Now the dozen, they were covered, hygienic, safe. Dog didn't slob on them, eat half of them, then put it back. None of that. We left them covered, hygienic, all that good stuff. These were just our leftover goodies. Even if that is the case, it's still no thank you. I'm good. Appreciate it. I'm thinking in my brain, you're not going to Swango me. No, sirree, but I'm good. Much less, now, you done already said that, I didn't bake these for y'all. Don't think I had a soft spot in my heart. Extra 15 minutes. My buddies at the courthouse, I'll make them. No. We had a party. The folks that I love to get in, I made chocolate chip cookies for them. They didn't eat them all, so I thought I'd bring leftovers that the dog didn't nibble on. I'd bring them to y'all. Appreciate it. Thank you for telling me that. I wasn't going to eat them anyway, but thank you. That's one where he said before he had young lady, female victim of racism. He didn't say nothing. He didn't do no proselytizing. None of that. Brought the cookies in? No, thank you. They bring all the food and get? No, thank you. And he said she just came up to him one day and she said, I see why you don't eat anything here. Brilliant. That's exactly it. Hopefully they see that again consistently, like, he didn't eat no cookies either. Maybe he knows something. No, I ain't gonna eat no cookies. He didn't eat the cookies. Yeah, he might know something. I ain't gonna eat them cookies because I ain't gonna eat them cookies. We don't ever eat it. Same thing I've been saying all night long. Even if this had been a black person, no disrespect, no thank you. No, that if that black person and they really got rapport, they will get me some cookies, when I ain't got to worry about it. But nah, man, I'm good. Hopefully, all of us, we got a paycheck, so we got food, and you got to go to work and scavenge and hope you scrounge something from your kitchen sink that I can nibble on. Come on. Especially not from nobody classified as Michael Slangum. he was poisoning his white co-workers and bringing them day-old donuts. Let's see. The first portion where he went back and started with, he said that the my spiritual twin, who is unprofessional, doesn't know how to talk to people, he has come up in the world. Now he's a supervisor, and I thought he said that, unless my memory is bad, I thought he said previously that they put a black person under him. They got a new hire black person who is working under him. Is that true? He's got a new hire black person?
Oh, yes, sir. And they put a picture of her in the new April newsletter too, Gus. Yes, sir.
Poor thing. That might even be attention, because I did just say that. You don't want any undue attention. Well, they done stuck her up. But I was thinking, poor thing, one, the newsletter, and then that is so system of white supremacy. And what I mean, he told us for years that this guy, unprofessional, doesn't know how to talk to people. I don't even, other than the system of white supremacy, this is white welfare. How is he even in this position? Are you serious? He's the most qualified person for this job? And I'm thinking he had to get some lame help from the other lame white people who work there. And he had told us that before. This lame dude had went and tried to get other promotions and move up the ranks at the courthouse, where it was what I'd already said, where you got positions where you're not even qualified. He said, I'm going to put my name in the hat for this one. Wait a minute, you don't even, do you have the certificate? No. But I think, I get the little on-the-job training. I think, I get, come on. And have other white people stick with it. That's what I'm saying. Like, system of white supremacy will be over. You got qualified black people. White people won't even vouch for them. And you telling me you got unqualified racists that you can go, oh yeah, let's go on and let's give him a chance. And then the travesty of it all. I don't know this black female, the new hire who's in the newsletter. I don't get the newsletter. I've never been to the courthouse. I don't know her from, Johnny Appleseed. I bet you that this young lady is super qualified. The system, they're not going to go and pick some, ignorant black person who dropped out of school like Mark Furman, got a GED. I'm sure this young lady is very qualified. She gets some lame dude who cannot help her advance her career at all. He doesn't even know how to do his job. How are you going to help me as a new hire get adjusted at the court? Like the worst possible situation. And then, for years, what he been saying, doesn't know how to talk to people. I cannot imagine that being like, wow, he has been so patient with me and has helped me learn so much. And wow, I'm going to be a great employee here learning under his tutelage. Please. And I suspect you add the racism in on top of all of that. Ilk. And then he said, too, that the girlfriend works there. And they got, like, come on. That, I don't know if they met while they were there or how all of this, transpired. Maybe they were already an item and then, somebody got a job and then I have no idea. But, man, all of that going down the hall and hanging out. I don't know. She might even been the one to put a word in for him to help him get the supervisor. Who knows? They got so much nepotism down at the courthouse and hooking up, their family members and friends. And that's what you get when you have white people, race soldiers, work in a place for 40 years, 25 years, and all of that. Like he's been at 35 years for the previous one. You get white people that work that long, you get all types of racism, all types of nepotism. Let's see. He was talking about the black people who have been there. I bet these black people don't have spouses and all that work there, but whatever. He was talking about the black supervisor that's been there for 30 years Then a separate black supervisor that's been there for 25 years. He said the warden number 2, I mentioned the one who'd been there for like 35 years, and she still comes back to visit apparently. That warden number 2, white man, that he will mostly come and talk to the white supervisors, that he seems like greatly pained to talk to the black supervisors. That's a repetition of what I just said. How do you advance your career if the people who manage me, they can come and evaluate, let me know what I need to work on, or hey, come and sing my praises if my work is effective, brilliant, they can come say that. They don't even want to come talk to Leroy. And we've heard that before, too. He had said that the white woman, she would try and avoid coming on that side of the hall. Like, I don't go down there. That's niggerish. Colored say, I walk the long way around to dump the recycling things. I stay away from around there. What in the world? Come on, man. Like, come on. Even I remember the one, I think he said the judge, she saw a black person on the elevator. Whoa, I'm going to take the stairs today. I get on there and get stuck with, I don't even play that. Come on. Even all of these would be instances of white supremacy racism, but dang, you only want to go and help the other white supervisors advance their career along? Same thing. That's how you get an incompetent white man. And again, I thought Trump said that it was the white men, we missing out on professional opportunities. This is an incompetent white man, and he got a promotion. Come on, and in an environment where he already said, I did the experiment. They don't hire too many black brothers. Let's see. He said the impressive sounding ambiguity popped up in the emails. I'm not surprised. It's widespread. Massive, in fact, critical component of how white people practice deception. Ambiguous phrasing, deliberately vague. What are they talking about? But and it's supposed to sound impressive. Like maybe I'm just too ignorant to accurately decipher this. No, it's just nonsense to begin with. Impressive sounding, but nonsense. Let's see. Importantly, now he said that the clique members have spread out. These are the racist white people who do all the text messages and gossiping, racist scandals and slinging beverages in people's face, all of that. He said they're not as concentrated at the one courthouse where he works at. That can be more dangerous in some respects. I guess if you work at that particular courthouse, maybe that could, maybe you get a slight bit of relief, maybe. But, man, that to one degree, that could just mean our web has widened. Now we got the whole of North Florida on lock. You go to any part, all the way out to the Panhandle. We got it on lockdown. Girl works out there. We just sit around and text all day long. And I'm like, and then you can do all kinds of nepotism. Now you know other race soldiers in other parts of the state. Got it all the way out to Polk County and everything else. So one part of my brain computer. And plus, I'm sure that's why he said the warden that worked there like 35 years and retired, she still comes back to kick it. I'm sure, like he said with the social media and all that, we are still friends. Now we got even new friends in the network. We can text and message and video and all the rest of it. So, yes, and one that it could, I guess he would know better than the rest of us. Perhaps on a local level, you get a little bit of reprieve, maybe. Or they get replaced. So you have to see. But at minimum, they could just have a much wider network of tackiness and terrorism. Let's see. And he said he saved the screenshots and other, that excellent counter-racism science. And for anybody, we heard the report last week of people being fired. Not that we'd heard it before. People being fired and they were locked out of their or locked out of the company's computers and devices before they could even finish reading the email about their termination. Any documents, emails, screenshots, any of that, make sure you take it with you at the end of your shift that day, because that might be your last day of employment. Like, immediately. You don't want to save the no email file. Like, every day when you leave that computer, you should be thinking, this might be the last time that I touch this device. That's not morbid. It's not yours. That's the way you should think about any device that is not yours. You could lose access to it at any moment. Anything that you want, screenshots, emails, files, today. Screenshots, you can make them PDFs or however you need to send it, keep it, whatever, but today, mine. Have your system, if you have a flash drive or you have an email account, whatever. However you need to make sure that you have it, bam, I got it when I leave. Not even worried about it. If I never get to touch that device again, no problem. And definitely, if you've been taking notes on racist activities in the workplace, violations of policy and procedure, any sort of incorrect conduct in the workplace, social media postings, anything of that nature, save all of it. Because he even said some of these folks that leave and they go to other places to work, other counties or whatever it is, they come back. So, never know. Or you might want to try, anything might happen. You might get a promotion. We got, job opening over here or anything. So save all of that. And that's for all of us. Save that information. You never know when you might need it, what sort of things might happen in the future. He mentioned, I guess, a little bit of tackiness as well about them bringing water bottles to work. Now, I thought that might spin constructively, because I think he had said before that they brought in spring water, and it is springtime. It's getting warmer, especially southern areas like Florida. So right on, encourage that hydration. Drink more water, not all those sugary beverages and such. High fructose corn syrup. I was thinking maybe we spill off some ways constructive, but is it they got to get the water bottles that look like Heineken? That, like, man. I don't even know what water that is. I've never, I was trying to think as he was saying it, like, what water bottles look like a Heineken? What? Like, I guess those liquid death ones, maybe a little bit, kind of look, they could have something alcoholic, but I think they're just water. But can't even when we're doing it the correct way, almost like we got to pretend, kind of psych ourselves out. We pretend we really got a cold brewski. And on the job, no less. Like, dang, we can't even just... Man. Anyway, maybe we bring our own water, too. That way we don't have to worry about, like, whoa, are they trying to slip something in? No, I don't need no snacks. And I guess I don't need no water either. They got strange-looking water bottles, too. Any hoodles. Much obliged. Caller in Florida staying hydrated and passing on the cookies, even at minimum. Like, they always had bad food, too. Like, it'd be pizza and chocolate chip cookies and chocolate chip candy bars and just something. Give me a whole bunch of cavities and white sugar. And come on. I don't need none of that either. Thank you. I'm good. You can go share that with everybody else and get them some diabetes and everything else. Like, come on. I'm trying to get right for summertime. You go and put all that white sugar on me. Come on. We got to go to the beach, man. Come on. Much obliged. Caller in Florida. Other folks who dialed in with a hand up, our caller, privileged black male, Tumblin Dice. If you have commentary and or safety tips, proceed.
Yes, Gus, good evening, and thanks for letting me share. I just want to know, Gus, if either you or some listener that works for the school district could help me, because just before we went to Easter break, I was on a field trip, and I had a teacher came on my bus, but the other bus that was ahead of me was already overloaded. But this this white teacher came in the bus and asked me to ask the driver of the first bus if she still had any seats. But she had just came back from that bus that was overloaded. So I told her, just like how Mr. Fuller would say, I said, I don't know. If you want another bus, I could call my supervisor, and my supervisor will have another bus driver come with another bus to carry the overloads. But I can't make that kind of decision, so I don't know. So after my field trip was done, my supervisor called me in and said that the teacher called her and told her that I was being aggressive, and obnoxious. So I told my supervisor, so pull the tape on the bus and let's see what happened. So my supervisor pulled the tape, and when she pulled the tape, she saw me catching up with my paperwork and taking a break to answer her question. And the whole conversation was on tape, and it showed that I did not do anything untoward or being rude or anything. But as I told my supervisor, I said, this is not right, because now this lady is accusing me, and not only accusing me and lying on me. And being a teacher is a position of trust, and you can't have a person in a position of trust making up false stuff against somebody to get them in trouble. So what I want to know from some of your listeners who work in the school district, school districts like in California specifically, who could I write a letter to have this teacher face some kind of sanction, because my district have a pattern of practice of covering for people like that, because I've been through that with all the stuff I've been through with the district. I've written complaints, and none of them have been held accountable for all the mistreatment. But I want to go outside the district to maybe the Department of Education and try to have this teacher held accountable, because lying is a very serious behavior, especially in a school district. And you're teaching kids, you're molding young minds, and you shouldn't be in that position if you lie with, wantonly and recklessly, So that's what I want to know. And like again, Gus, I was just minding my own business, doing my job. That's what the tape showed, and I'm still under attack, and this has to stop. So I just call you to see you could give me some advice, or some other listeners that work for the school district out here in California could give me some advice on how to navigate this and get these people held accountable. And not only that, it's her and another teacher, because the two of them, as soon as that conversation was done with that one teacher, she called another teacher, and they both walked off the bus. And these recordings are so sensitive that you could hear the conversation, and you could hear them plainly planning and plotting. They said, well, we could get him. The other one said, let's get him on this. So you could hear all that. So that's where I'm going with this, But thanks for letting me share this, and thanks again.
Wow, that's so disgraceful. If we have any folks who work for the public school system in this part of the world, that would be great, because they might know, they might know a lot more nuance about how to handle deceptive, dishonest, or false reports, staff members making false reports against other school employees. The best way to respond to that and to hold people accountable so that this misconduct stops, because he's given a lot of reports of white teachers making false charges, and they have to go look at the video, and, oh, he didn't do that, to get that sort of thing stopped permanently, even the weed whacker. I don't know if you've contacted the superintendent. That might be, I know because you were saying going outside the district, so that might not necessarily be what you wanted. But writing a letter, if you can have documentation, either if you have reports from these previous incidents where you've been accused, if you don't have reports, just date and time. I mean, it's not supposed to be a book or a 20-page report or anything, but just date, time, and then just a quick synopsis. This is not the first time the weed whacker charge, that you were going to be violent against a teacher, that this has been recurrent, where these are proven to be patently false, and not even close. It's not like it was a slight, misunderstanding where, you said tomato and they thought you said potato. Like, this is just total lies about your conduct. Even the most recent charge, obnoxious, like that's kind of vague. Did this person violate policy? Were they specifically unwilling to call another bus or to help remedy the situation of the overcrowding? Like, they were obnoxious. I am more accustomed to it. This is the violation. He wouldn't take students that were on the bus, cursed me like, oh, okay, I got a knot. He was obnoxious. Like, what? I don't even know what that means. Like, I couldn't even go and fuss at Leroy. Like, what do you mean obnoxious exactly? Like, that is, especially for this context, just trying to get children home. I don't know. Was he unwilling to get the children home? He said we look at the tape. He was willing to get the tape. Yeah. And then them going off to plan and plot. Just, wow. No one does it better than white women. I would see if you can get that video as well, if that's possible. I know they have different regulations with different schools, but if you can, it's a public record, I would think. I would see if you can make a public. Mm-hmm.
And one more, I hate to interrupt, but I reported the incident, and this is the bad part. This is the most egregious part. I reported the incident to the vice principal, and she sat with me and took notes, and I told her exactly, how I comport myself when I'm at work, because I'm always getting harassed, I'm always getting lied from, and I told her about the incident that the teachers that she supervised perpetrated against me. Well, she took the notes and everything, so she said, well, I will get in touch with you after Easter recess. So when I went back to the school that I work to ask her about the update, she said that she saw me coming, but she hurried to her office. But then she sent me an email saying that if you have any concerns about the staff at the school, then you should contact the principal, the main principal. And then I sent her back an email. I said, ma'am, I told you about my concerns. So right there, she's lying and trying to cover up for these people. By the mere fact, she shifted the obligation to the principal. I knew she was lying, because she said that if I had any concerns, just forward it to the principal. But this is the same lady that had me in her office and was taking notes about the incident. See, this is the kind of corruption I'm up against. So that's why I wanted to go outside the district. You see? So the cover-up, she's trying to cover it up. So that makes it even worse than the crime these teachers did, you know what I'm saying?
She said speak to the principal after she'd wasted your time taking notes and giving the impression that she was going to do something.
Yeah.
And white people will do a lot of that sort of thing where they will, at the first time, they'll make it seem as though they're going to do justice. I'm going to investigate this. We're going to help solve this problem. And then they'll come back and act like, oh, no, I never said any of that. Yeah, I can't help do any of that. Yeah, you'll have to talk like that is very common. I would even add that. I would contact the principal, as she said. I would also contact the superintendent and let them know. And I would contact them and say, I'm contacting you because I've tried to address this with my immediate supervisors, and they have shown an unwillingness to help me solve this problem. I'm hoping it will be different with you. And then, like I said, just give a quick synopsis that because this is not the first time, the most recent incident, there's a video. That's why I said I would see if you can make a request, get this most recent video. If you can get the other ones too, that's great, but at least get the most recent one if that's possible, and let them know. We've reviewed the footage repeatedly for these incidents, and there's no accountability to get this stopped. And it's wasting time. We should be prioritizing making sure that these children are being transported safely and that the staff can do their job safely, as opposed to making false allegations against other educators and school employees. What is that helping to accomplish other than wasting time, causing unnecessary conflict? Question land. But yeah, I would write a letter. I would just take some time and, like I said, make short. This is not supposed to be 20 pages or anything like that, but just really quick kind of bullet points of some of the previous incidents, the weed whacker, where this is consistently where false charges, just blatantly fabricated charges, no evidence at all against you, and no one is held accountable. Where people, and even, I mean, that's stunning, where if it's on the video where you can hear them like, hey, this is what we're going to do. He's going to, okay, so you just go out and sit down. Like, come on, that is absurd. Like, we should all, I thought we all came here to work together to help educate these students, make sure they arrive safely, get back home safely. Aren't we all working together to do that? Question lane. And everybody's supposed to be saying yes. How is lying on other staff, how is that helping us to help educate these children or transport them safely? It's not. Come on. Those are the types of questions I'd be prepared to ask. I might even include some of that in the letter, but I would try and make it not too long, include some of those, and hopefully someone can help get a permanent resolution to this problem. No one should have to deal with false allegations, especially on a regular, like this is a weekly occurrence, false allegations, and we even sit around and conspire about our false allegations. I mean, that is, wow. Black male privilege. Do we have any folks work with the school system or any knowledge, expertise on the school system, what they would recommend try to get some of these false charges stopped? Keeping my eye out on the folks can drop an email as well. So if they hear the archive, even I know California school system was mentioned. So if we have folks in the California school system, which is massive, but if we have folks in the California school system, that would be great. If we have folks in the school system, period, and you have suggestions how to get false allegations stopped. I know you had mentioned the Department of Education. That's what I said before. That's what I said before about Neely Fuller Jr.'s method, counter-racist method for the workplace. President Trump is talking about ending the Department of Education, and for this type of problem specifically, so that you don't have anybody to make a report to if an educator is misbehaving or practicing racism, could be both here, so that you don't have anybody where you can go and make this sort of report to. That's what I'm saying. Like, it might be very different in this environment to even use that particular aspect of Mr. Fuller's codification. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it and brilliant. I'm just saying I would love to hear his thoughts on, wow, does this environment make it a little bit more difficult to use that method? How does this change using that aspect of counter-racist codification as he's outlined? But folks can drop an email, untiljustice@gmail.com, if we have any educators, any suggestions for Tumblin Dice, and what would you do? Because this is a pattern and practice It's about every week, every other week, some sort of false charge that he's done something, was going to shoot somebody, steal something, being so-called obnoxious, whatever that means. What would you all, if anyone, recommendations to see if we can put a halt to this? Because if anything, time and energy, and then just the toxicity where having to show up for work and you can't even just focus on, driving the children safely and doing all that. It's got to be, okay, got to respond to this. Okay, let's go evaluate the video footage here. Okay, I didn't do that. I mean, man, who wants to endure that for a job? I mean, whew, man, let us know if anybody suggestions, tips for tumbling dice, things to kind of mitigate the I would contact the superintendent and I would contact the vice principal. The principal. Sorry about that. The vice principal, probably practicing racism. I said, well, you need to contact the principal. No problem. And I would let the principal know I spoke with the vice principal. She took notes and spoke in a manner suggesting that she was going to seriously attempt to address these issues, solve this problem, at least make an investigation. She didn't do anything. I'm really hoping that we can get a permanent resolution to this problem. No one should have to work at a school where they're being falsely accused of things on a regular basis. Should they? Question. And but I would contact the principal, as she said, and I would also contact the superintendent and let them know. And like I said, I would let them know about the vice principal, what their performance in all of it, or non-performance in all of this, date, time as well. And I would see if you could get the video footage. That might be something for everyone who has a job. What is the procedure? If you need video footage, if something happens, what do I need to do to acquire that video footage? If you get there's violent confrontation on the job, anything like that. If there's a charge, you stole the weed whacker, what do I need to do to acquire the footage? Is this one where they say, well, we're not giving it to you unless you have a court order? Okay, I would write that down, make that number, because, hey, people get killed in the workplace. All kinds of bad things, that people get robbed in the workplace. Ask for that procedure in advance, just so you know. If something happens here, they have cameras, what's the procedure if we need to get, recording footage of if something, hopefully never need this, but just in case, what's the procedure for this company? Get that information up front. That's why I say this. I never say be mute in the workplace. Never. There's so much to know. We get abused all the time. So I never say, don't say anything. Just specifically when we talk and what to say. That's it. But I don't know if maybe we don't have our other educators with us live today. Write in. Folks can certainly drop us an email, untiljustice@gmail.com. Untiljustice@gmail.com. You can drop an email online, comments, all of that with the episodes at Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Podchaser, YouTube, all the other locations where you can listen to the Context of White Supremacy. But let us know if we have other folks who work in the school system specifically. If you have any thoughts, tips that might aid Tumbling Dice or any other folks who drive the school bus or work with these children and they're being falsely accused of things on a regular basis, man, that could just wear you down. Who wants to get up and go to a job and that's what you get to look forward to every day? We got to come look through your car and got to go back and look and see what you did yesterday to make sure you didn't threaten to kill someone. Like, come on. Very sorry you had to endure that. Again, Tumbling Dice, I would contact superintendent, vice principal, and be requesting help getting this problem solved so that we're not, you and nor any other employees being subjected to false allegations in the workplace. We can just focus on transporting children safely.
Okay, Gus, thanks for letting me share.
For sure. And if I get emails, other folks, they hear the archive and such, I will read next week as we roll on. I'll share down the road. Hopefully, some folks who are employed as educators and such, they will not be spectators. At least share if you have some experience or thoughts that might be helpful. Let us know. Any other folks, thoughts, observations they want to make sure they get in before we wrap up? Soon, folks might be satisfied. Again, don't be greatest spectator as outlined by Mr. Fuller. For any of the folks, if you hear the archive, untiljustice@gmail.com. Untiljustice@gmail.com. I do check my email, and people have heard me, I always read the archives when people write in and, have suggestions or thoughts about their workplace, problems about their workplace.
Q&A session is over.
Hit the wrong button. Sorry about that, gang.
Q&A session has started.
Oh, okay. Got it back. Anyway, but yeah, I always read emails from folks when they dial in and share about their own situation, or if they have tips for us, or if they have problems in their workplace. I always share. So let us know if you have any thoughts that might help out, because I'm sure Tumblin Dice is probably not the only black educator who is being falsely accused on his job. So I'm certain it would benefit some other folks. And I would be curious if folks have some tips, either acquiring the video footage or just tips that might help stop some of the false charges, make some of these more powerful white people, the superintendent, the principal, make them do justice. Stop making up lies on that. Even the phrasing of that, he was obnoxious, because really, most workplaces, you have obnoxious coworkers. Like that's so vague. Like sometimes I just think the person is obnoxious because of the way that they dress. I don't like the nose that they got. It's obnoxious. I'm snickering a little bit, but I'm being totally truthful. Like that is so vague. That is such an ambiguous charge. He was obnoxious. Like what? He scrunched his nose up at you? Like what did he? Anyway, I dare any of you look in your policy and procedure manual, even under employee conduct, even if it's real detailed. I bet you they are not going to say, don't be obnoxious to your other coworkers. Like, what? Even at the minimum, same thing I just said. What does that mean? You're going to have to be more specific than that. That is way, they talk about ambiguous. Jesus. Anywho, we will be here Friday. Dr. Colin Anthony Beckles' dissertation. We're almost done. He's mentioned Dr. Frances Cress Welsing 4 times, and she is in the book later on, as is Neely Fuller Jr., but mentioned 4 times already in the text, in the dissertation, Dr. Beckles' Pan-African Sites of Resistance, as have been many other black authors and black bookstores around the world. It has been, at least for me, very informative, and even kind of economics, because he's talking about black businesses around the world and how white people around the world deliberately work to sabotage these black businesses in a variety of ways. Arson, locking people up, anything you can think of, vandalism, anything you can think of for black people selling books. So it has been massively informative, but hey, it is kind of workplace racism the whole way through. Same thing I said today, and in a variety of different ways. As long as the system of white supremacy exists, white people can come and toss you and your business overboard anytime they feel like it. And that can take a variety of it. Taxes, they mentioned that one too with the black bookstore. Like, oh my God, we'll come and say, hey, you ain't paid your taxes, Leroy, in the last 15 years. We'll have to close you down. All of that. And then even sometimes, did you pay your taxes or are they lying? Same thing. Did Tumblin Dice steal our weed whacker? Or did he? That type of thing. But I mean, they got a billion ways. We don't want your business. We will get rid of you and your business today. Anywho, but we'll be here tomorrow, Catherine Massey Book Club, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. It has been a treasure reading Dr. Beckles, our first and only time reading a dissertation in the book club. And then Saturday, we'll be here for our Counter-Racist Weekly Review as well. Hopefully, constructive investment of your time and energy. Much obliged for folks tuning in, folks who called in to share. We will be on the lookout, see if we have educators who have thoughts to share. Sobriety would be best under conditions of white supremacy, especially younger folks going to be out driving on the road. All of that safety is important. Hey, you might be going through the drive-thru and a shootout breaks out. You want to be sober so that you can get out of there to safety immediately. Even be on alert. Whoa, it looked like they're getting rowdy about these onion rings. Maybe we need to get out of here. Yes, get out of here. It is a dangerous environment. The system of white supremacy racism. Again, our condolences to the family of Chauncia Lashell Meekins, 32 years old. That is such a disgrace. 32 years old. She didn't even make it. She was supposed to be 33. They said in like a couple days. And over onion rings. Oh, it's so disgusting. Onion rings. That right there is why it should be a sense of urgency. The worthlessness of black life. You see? That is why we should have like massive sense of urgency. Solve this problem immediately. Chauncia Lashell Meekins, Spanish Lake, Missouri, which used to be a sundown town. They made a whole documentary about it. In fact, we had the white filmmaker as a guest on the program. You want to know what I remember about the documentary? When black people like Miss Meekins, when they moved into Spanish Lake, Missouri, which is right down the road from where they shot Michael Brown Jr., the white people, race soldiers, they bragged about going and taking their guns and shooting at the black people's houses. They thought this was the funniest thing. I said, dang, if you're shooting into somebody's house, they could be at home. The worthlessness of black life in Spanish Lake. The documentary, it's called Spanish Lake. In fact, the documentary premiered in 2014. They paused it. They said, oh no, they might come in here and riot and act a fool because they had just shot and killed Mike Brown Jr. and left him out in the street for 4.5 hours. You could watch the documentary twice in the amount of time that they left him out in the street and still have free time probably to drive home. That is spending. I did think of that immediately, like, oh man, I'm familiar with this area, and even my familiarity with this area is about violence against black people. Chauncia Lashell Meekins, Spanish Lake, victim of white supremacy. Creator, we ask, remind us, stop saying not all white people are racist. Remind us, stop name-calling people classified as black, like Chauncia Lashell Meekins. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Context of White Supremacy, signing out. We'll look forward to hearing from our black educators. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. No problem. You're a victim. Man, I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning.
Shut up.
The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.